Hi, guys. Here's another episode of Happy Being Well with your host, Rita. We have another exciting guest for you guys, and this is the third podcast for 2022. We have David Williams. He is an entrepreneur, author, and podcaster. I met David on Wisdom. I was giving a wisdom talk about how to achieve your goals for 2022, and David came on as a guest. I was impressed with what he had to contribute on the topic of around self-love, and I invited him to be on the Happy Being Well podcast. So before we dive deep with David, this podcast is sponsored by happybeingwell.com, your online store for creative activewear, leggings, bras, organic bath soaps, 100% organic natural facial masks, crystals, natural essential oils, and much more self-care goodies at happybeingwell.com. So David, so you're an entrepreneur, you're an author, you're a podcaster. We met on Wisdom. You had such great nuggets. I think we met on Wisdom. We ended up talking about, how to deal with the jealousy of others. And as we know, when some people experience extreme jealousy, there's different levels to jealousy, but when it goes, it usually is a result of they don't love themselves. They have insecurities. They're not feeling themselves with that self-love energy. And that's why they feel like they have to kind of like take from the external world, right? Because they can't give that self-love energy to themselves, right? They can't validate themselves. Right. Due to insecurity, that's basically the root of it, which is always the root is really fear, right? Fear of not being able to do it themselves. It's just a lack. So we had an interesting conversation around there, and that's hence why you're here. So, what has been your journey, and what can you advise on this matter? Because everyone's pretty much experienced,
Yeah. Well, first to kind of piggyback off of, thanks for the intro, by the way. That is definitely how we connected, and it was awesome to see that we did have quite a few similarities in how we were dealing with jealousy and envy. And that kind of goes into one of my tips for self-love. Early on, before I got involved in the vast world of creativity, I used to feel guilty for rewarding myself. And it took a friend to remind me that that I did have quite a few books under my belt, that I did get to become an international podcaster, that I was starting stuff, that I was actually doing things. And what stemmed from that, and why I wasn't rewarding myself, was because I know a lot of us, growing up anyway, we hear the word deserve, right? So you don't get anything until somebody else, and that's the key point, until somebody else feels you deserve it, right? And so you put in a certain amount of time for something, you clean up your house, you do whatever, and then your mom, dad, uncle, whoever you happen to live with gives you money for whatever it is that you were doing. And so for a long time, I was convinced that the only way that I could reward myself was if somebody else came along and felt that I deserved it. And when I realized that I could see something that I like and reward myself simply because I like it. It didn't have to be a deep-rooted reason behind why I did it. It could just be, so I wrote a book. I completed a book on my own, right? And I saw something really nice online that I liked, so I put in the time, so I felt like I deserved it. And that was one of my first introductions to self-love, right? Was getting out of this thing of other people feeling like you deserve it. And then taking it upon yourself, where if you see something you like, just buying it. And that has really kind of broke me out of only doing things that other people feel I deserve, or waiting until somebody says, you've put in the work, you deserve it. Like, just breaking free of that was my first introduction to self-love. So if I had a tip for anybody that's going to be listening, the sooner you can step away from feeling as though other people have to tell you when you deserve stuff, you'll feel better about yourself and about the little things that you do day in and day out, because the little things make way for the big things. And that's something that my friend had to remind me of, because at one point I was just writing. I was just writing, not on autopilot, but I was so focused on the next thing that I wanted to do that I didn't take time to be present. And once I took a step back and started rewarding myself as I go, that's when I really started to explore self-love a little bit. So if I had a tip for anybody, like I said, it would be to take the word deserve out of your vocabulary, because it's not serving you, because you're not honoring yourself by focusing on the present. So that would be one of my first tips, to take the word deserve out of your vocabulary.
Awesome. Everyone, yeah, that's an excellent point about rewards. It's just so interesting that we all really have different life experiences, and different, ways of seeing things, right? Like,
Right.
like when I was growing up, I never really got, my parents never rewarded me for cleaning the house. I grew up in a traditional home where my mother was a stay-at-home mom, so she took care of all the household stuff, including cleaning my bedroom and everything like that. So I literally was just, raised with the expectation of just, focus on school and do. So we all have, it's just, we all have these different, it's why it's so important to go within, because we all have different experiences that led us to construct our, value system, belief system, ways of perceiving things, right? And we all attach meaning differently to different things based on that. So that's a great point though. And we all have different viewpoints on what a reward is and how we should be rewarded based on our personal life experiences, right? And so that's a great point. I never really yeah, that's awesome. Some people may look at it, want to get attention. Maybe they weren't getting enough attention from their parents, right?
Right.
So it's centered around attention as opposed to rewards. So it's just interesting. We all have these, we have to pay attention to, which is something that took me a journey to figure out, what was my programming code, what was the messages that I was getting from my environment while growing up. You really have to, hit that rewind button and go within to figure out how you're attaching meaning to things that is influencing your actions. So that's awesome. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I had, I had to break away from being a constant workaholic. And that stemmed from going back to the deserve part of it. That stemmed from somebody telling me that you're going to have to put in 10, 15, 20 years before you see a return on your investment, whatever it is, whether it's time, whether it's money, whatever. And so I did have this thing of just keeping my head down and just working, and not being proud. I was just working for the sake of working, and not really honoring myself, and not really taking a step back and saying, holy shit, man, you've done a lot, throughout your life, you've done a lot. And so now it's just taking the time to be present. That's really kind of been a message that the universe has been sending me, is to not get so caught up in the future, but just be present. And when your body tells you to take a break, take a break. Like, don't feel like you have to push and push and push, and then you're exhausted within the next like 1 or 2 months because you push so much. So just honoring my body as at this point is also a lesson that I've been learning to do. So when my body tells me to take a nap, I take a nap. When my body tells me to work and focus on like whatever my creative project happens to be, that's what I do. Like I don't, I'm really in flow with my body right now. Like I don't try to push and push and push. So honoring your body is something else that I would encourage other people to do.
Absolutely. Yeah, that is so important. And I think that due to people's conditioning and how we were brought up, or it's so easy to just push and push and push ourselves. And then this is what leads to burnout. I've had to learn that lesson myself too, like, where you just want to push and push and push yourself, and then you learn the hard way, you burn out, and then you have to take that, you have no choice but to rest, to recharge, refuel yourself. And then so I've learned like it's actually better for my productivity and results
Mhm.
to take that rest and to get that recharge and then go again, because your mind, your body is not going to be operating optimally anyways, and
Right.
have a buildup of stress that some people are not even cognizant of the stress that they're experiencing because they're so busy with whatever they're caught up doing, that they're not realizing that their nervous system is hijacked with stress, that it's influencing poor decisions, right? um,
Yeah.
Hampering their creativity, hampering their communication skills. So it's just better to just rest and to listen to your body and not have to resist, right? Because it's you're just fighting with yourself, and there is no success in conflict like that when you're basically fighting yourself. So it's just best to be in harmony with ourselves. That's awesome. So what is your podcast called for people who want to listen into your podcast?
Sure. So my podcast is called the Be Your Own Hero Show. Um, I had a different name for it, but the concept of being your own hero, it fit better. And so what I've been doing is I have a mini series on there called Superman Meets, where, and the Superman part of it came in because I wrote down on a piece of paper um, that I am in essence my own Superman. And so it started out on a piece of paper, and then that has turned into now not just being on a piece of paper, but a way of life. And now that's also one of my nicknames. And so that birthed the idea of coming up with a series called Superman Meets, where I invite people on um, that would tell me who their favorite person is, and then we come up with an episode based around who they tell me. So I had somebody on there that reminded me a lot of Wolverine from the comic books, and because she heals fast from injuries. And so that over time became a podcast episode. So Superman meets Wolverine, or Superman meets Doctor Strange, or Superman meets Captain Marvel, whoever the other person happens to be. Um, but that can all be found on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify. Um, I think there's like a few others, but those are like the top three that most people listen to. So yeah, it's called the Be Your Own Hero Show. That's what it's called.
Oh my God, I love that. That's awesome. So every guest goes on and they choose their superhero. They tell you what they resonate with, like who they relate to or who they can see being, and they describe why.
Yeah, they can either tell me while during the show, or they can inbox me on Instagram, and then I'll name it. Like I'll just name it Superman meets Doctor Strange if they resonate with Doctor Strange, because I find that in the creative and entrepreneurial spaces, um, and I also wrote a book a little bit surrounded or inspired by it. Um, I found that everybody is in essence their own hero, right? When they start their journey and they figure out what their ability is, what they're good at, and so on. And so what I got from the comic books is that um, even though Superman does his own thing a lot, he still has the Justice League. He still has other heroes in different parts of the country that he can call on when he needs help, or vice versa. When they need help, they call Superman, right? And so I took that concept and I applied it to actual life. I applied it to people that I meet along the way, amongst my journey, and how we are able to collaborate if we feel like we're aligned, if we feel like we're fighting similar battles, or if we feel like we're headed in the same direction, even though our paths and our creativity might be a little bit different, the path is the same. And so once I saw the similarities between like DC and Marvel characters from the comic books and actual people, I started applying it to actual like life. And so we're always looking for people to collaborate and connect with. We're always, somebody somewhere is always fighting some kind of battle. And so, and then you get to a certain point where you can mentor other people, you can mentor kids, you can mentor the younger generation of people that are watching your example and coming behind you. And so once I saw the similarities and how many there were, yeah, that's what kind of pushed me to start looking at like my friends and people that I meet along the way as their own person, like their own hero. So yeah, that's where the whole concept kind of came from. And once I saw it, it's like a light bulb went off. It was like, yo, that makes sense. Okay, I'm gonna go with that. Like that's, and it makes it fun. I find that it makes it fun.
That is awesome. I really love that. And what a great concept to really understand how we can be our own hero. And that is something that is not really emphasized in our mainstream culture, right? In our pop culture. A lot of people, I think, too, with all of these rom-coms, it's always this conception of like looking towards another to be fulfilled or completed or whatever, which is totally, as people who actually, do their personal work, do their shadow work, as they evolve in life, you do realize that is not true. It's up to you.
Right.
It's up to you, or to elevate, because it's whatever you're producing, it's coming out of your mouth, it's coming out of your hands, it's as a result of what you're thinking, right? So others can inspire us, but ultimately, it's up to us to actually do it, take that action. So I actually love that. It's just so true. We are our own superhero. I love that. I love it. Awesome. That's not excellent concept to help people really understand the power of that. And you're an author. So what books have you written, and where can people purchase your books?
Sure. So I've written. People always joke with me that I'm 5 books in, going on 40, but I've written 5. I've written 5 so far. The most recent one was, like I said, it was hybrid, being superhuman among people, and that stemmed from people giving me the nickname of Superman, because people have this weird rumor that I don't sleep, which is not true. I do sleep. And much like Superman, people think that Superman doesn't sleep, but he sleeps. And so I took what people were running by me and telling me, and I applied it to a book. I applied it to a book, and I feel like I said, everybody's connected, even though we're all doing our own stuff and we all have our own abilities and things like that we do and that we specialize in. We're all connected, right? Through wisdom, or through Clubhouse, or through Facebook or Instagram, wherever we meet. We're all connected. And even though we don't talk all the time, that I'm just an inbox away, or vice versa, right? So in essence, I'm always on call. I'm always on call for people. And so I started looking at that and applying it to an actual book. So Hybrid, being superhuman among people, is my most recent. And that can be found on Amazon and also in Walmart. Um, and then I'm also, somebody encouraged me to get the audiobooks out there. I got to work on that at some point. But they're currently available as physical books and ebooks. And they're both available in Amazon and Walmart. And then the one before that was Heavy as the Head, for those who are crowns. The Entrepreneurial Kingdom, and that is as the title explains, it's encouraging people to approach their crown. I feel like everybody is a king or queen in their own space and their own right, but there's a lot that comes with that. That comes with saying, I am a king, I am a queen, I am an empress, I am an emperor. Like, there's a lot that comes with that. And so that was going to be my take a break book. That was going to be the book that I would write and then take a break to focus on other stuff. But that's not what happened. I got another idea and kept going with it. But initially, that was going to be my take a break book. And I said that if it is going to be my take a break book and I'm going to take a step back from writing, I want people to say, yo, this guy could write. Like, I felt what he was trying to convey even through the pages of this book. Like, I felt his passion. I felt what he was saying. That was really important to me to tell people that. So Heavy as the Head, for those who wear crowns, is where that came from. Just encouraging other people to be kings and queens. The one before that was called that, but this one's purely an ebook. And the last one is also, it can be found in a couple of places, on Amazon, on Walmart. It's also available in a library in, I think, Pennsylvania. And then I had a friend who loved the book so much that she pitched it on my behalf and got it into a library in Virginia. So if you have a Virginia audience, and they want to find it at the library in Virginia, they can. And then the book number 3, because I'm working my way back. So book number 3, this one is just an ebook, but it's called Entrepreneurial Spartans, A Grandson's Tribute. And that one was in honor of my grandpa, because I call it the battery in the back. He's the reason why I got involved in entrepreneurship and why I just will not let it die with me. Like, I won't take no for an answer. And my grandpa is the reason behind that, because I saw his example of what a successful entrepreneur would look like or could look like. He had 3 or 4 things that he did. And so I think he was an investor in real estate. He had a construction business and he owned a TV repair shop. And I took that example and I applied it to my own life. And so people wonder where I get a lot of my energy from. That's where I get it from. I get it from Grandpa. And so I wanted to write him a letter, letting him know of what I've been up to, where am I at, where am I going, and what I would say. Like, because like I said, he's no longer with us. So what would I say if I had the opportunity to talk to him as an adult, as a person who has found his own niche in the world, and carved one out for himself? Like, what would I say? And so, yeah, Entrepreneurial Spartans, A Grandson's Tribute is right now. I think it's only on Amazon at the moment, but I am going to expand on it and like make it available in other places.
Listen, David, we're hitting that 20-minute limit. We only have so much time, but thanks so much for sharing those 3 books. So if anyone wants to reach out and contact you and find out more about your books, is there a website or an Instagram page handle you like to share?
Sure. So my Instagram is Kyle's Enterprises. So that's KAYLESENTERPRISES. And then I also have Twitter with the same handle. So Instagram and Twitter are where I can be found.
Awesome. Thanks, David. Thanks for sharing with us. And guys, I highly recommend you check out David's books. They sound interesting, and definitely check out his podcast, Be Your Own Hero on Apple iTunes or Spotify. So thank you, David, for being on the show and contributing your nuggets of wisdom on the topic of self-love. It was very, very powerful. So thank you for that. And this podcast is sponsored by happybeingwell.com. Use code podcast25 for 25% off all activewear leggings. Okay, guys, have a powerful 2022. Keep feeding your souls, keep feeding your minds with personal development information to keep you on track and keep you charging forward. Sending light, love, and blessings, everybody.